Hello everyone, and welcome back to the woods at Lone Pine Tarot, or welcome for the very first time if you're just finding us. For today's Pick a Card reading, we're looking into a hidden reward ready for you in the near future. It could be a financial breakthrough, a healing of your heart, an achievement you didn't expect, and so on and so forth. So, let's see what's waiting for you in the cards today. Without further ado, here are our 3 piles pre-selected for your choosing. Over here on the left for pile 1, your pile leader is the Trout and Lily of the Valley. For pile 2 in the middle, your pile leader is the Owl and Hop. And last but not least, for pile 3 on the right, your pile leader is the Bee and Pomegranate. Feel free, of course, to pause here if you need a moment to settle in and decide, but when you are ready, head down to the timestamps in the description box, and I will see you in the woods for your hidden reward. Hello there, pile number 1, my Trout and Lily of the Valley pile. Welcome to your reading on the hidden reward waiting ahead for you. First, we're going to begin with drawing your oracle cards. So let us call on Spirit for your highest best good, with the best intentions in mind. Spirit, can you tell us for pile 1 today, what is a hidden reward on the path ahead for them? Can you give us some insight, please? Thank you. And this one is quite prominent, so we're going to take that one first. Oh, well, there we go, pile 1. 1 already popped out, so we're going to, of course, choose that tea leaf for you. Thank you, Spirit, for your messages. So, of course, that one already kind of revealed itself, as you can see. Oh, actually, 2 came out. I lied. You have 3 tea leaves today, pile 1. So that one's kind of a hidden element. I'm actually going to set that in the middle just to remind myself that that might be a part of this message that was unexpected, or part of the blessing / reward that was unexpected. So as you can see, it says Tiger, doing something risky, taking a chance. Now the second one we already saw, hold in the middle here for a moment, is Broken Bridge, unsuccessful outcome to a problem. So I can see pile 1 just based on these 2 cards already. I think this reward, whatever it is, of course we'll see more into the nitty-gritty of that in the near future here, but I think these cards are explaining kind of the situation leading up to this reward. So whatever's been going on in your life recently, I can tell you this. I think there's something you've been maybe a bit afraid of, something that maybe has been a risk of some sort. I would not be surprised if, say, like the full reversed comes up in your tarot spread when we draw those cards later, because of the risk keyword being so prominent in the Tiger card from the first tea leaf you got, right? And on top of that, we have Broken Bridge, unsuccessful outcome to a problem. Maybe you've been trying to cross a river, so to speak, metaphorically, and saying that in a more mundane way. Like there's been this giant problem you've been trying to face and trying to overcome, but you're not really sure how to build those bricks / that wood in order to repair the bridge, in order to see the solution to get to the other side and overcome what looks like a risk, is what I'm picking up on intuitively. Of course, you do have a 3rd tea leaf, so let us look at that too. Over here we have a positive thing. We have a stork, which is very traditionally, as you know, associated with birth and delivering babies. So that's why it means news of a birth or a new business opportunity. So for some of you, that might mean that this risk or this fear is a fear of a risk of starting a new business or starting a new opportunity, or maybe you recently heard an opportunity whispered your way, but at the same time, you're not so sure if you want to embark on it because maybe there's a slight element to it that feels risky in some way. Of course, too, it can mean in general that part of the reward on your path in the near future is a birth or a new opportunity coming your way. So let's, of course, keep drawing your cards to see what else pops out in terms of synchronicities, number 1, and number 2 in terms of details. And of course, too, I will explain your Trout and Lily once we draw your final card here. So next up with this deck, we have the Sacred Destiny Oracle. Spirit, anything else you want to say to pile 1 today about this reward and kind of the situation leading up to it, so pile 1 can recognize where this is coming from? Thank you. Feeling drawn to this one. Kind of tucked away. Well, how fitting, pile 1. We were just talking about taking risks, especially with the tiger, as it says, doing something risky and taking a chance. And look at that synchronicity that just popped out for you. Isn't that amazing? We have taking risks. So definitely that is a main prominent theme of this reward coming ahead. I almost wonder, pile 1, if taking the risk might lead to this reward. Although right now it looks kind of scary, so that it's hard for you to know at this point whether or not you want to take the risk, but you might be encouraged in that direction. Now, as I promised, we also have the Trout and the Lily, which I'll explain right now. I don't necessarily see any synchronicities between this card and the others, but perhaps something will jump out at you in terms of maybe symbolism you've seen lately, symbols in your life, more specifically, to be accurate. Or maybe, too, you've been seeing these symbols in your life recently, like storks, tigers, bridge symbols, and also there's also a hawk here in the taking risks. But anyways, the Trout and the Lily of the Valley. Now, the key word with this card, pile 1, as you can see at the bottom, I'm not sure if it pops up on camera, but I'll read it. It says purification. And that is because both of these, well, the plant and the animal / fish, represent purity or a sign of purity or troubles coming to an end, especially the Lily of the Valley on that latter part. Now, the trout itself is a symbol of purity because generally trouts only exist in healthy ways in, numerous numbers when the river that they're in or stream that they're in is clear and clean. They're actually kind of a marker of the health of a water body, specifically, like I said, rivers and streams. So, of course, it represents having a healthy ecosystem, balance in some way, especially in nature. It also represents the removal of what is toxic from a situation too, difficulties moving away. And then the Lily of the Valley is a little bit different, but it's kind of similar, so I'll explain. The meaning behind this part of the symbol of this card is related to, I think it's a folktale from England. I'm pretty sure. This is about Saint Leonard, I believe was his name. And Saint Leonard was considered the last slayer of the last dragon in all of England. And the blood that was spilled from the dragon that he slayed, whenever it touched the ground, their lilies of the valley would grow and be prosperous and abundant. So it's kind of like the end of a situation or the end of an obstacle that leads to something very beautiful, and then tying that with the meaning of the trout and the lily of the valley. It's like that obstacle comes to an end, that broken bridge is finally mended, right? The toxic part of the situation is removed, or what seems like is kind of unbalanced. Maybe that's part of the risk you're fearing if you already kind of see the risk coming and that's what's making you scared, pile 1. You're like, I don't know, that might be kind of spooky. Maybe that's a little unbalanced. Maybe it's a little too wild. But really, I think a lot of this reward ahead for you is that obstacle clearing. And so it makes the opportunity look that much more like easy to take on. It doesn't look quite as scary as it did before. And of course, because of the synchronicities that we're seeing here with your cards, especially with the tiger and taking risks, because that was mentioned twice for you, which in my opinion, pile 1, is kind of an indicator from spirit that it's a very like underlined kind of message for your reading today. I think you're being nudged to take that risk. Okay, but of course we will draw your tarot cards and that will provide us more clarity on everything, especially kind of like a timeline, where is it going, as well as maybe what the reward specifically is, or of course we'll probably draw some more clarity on that at the end. We'll see kind of what pops out and then advice on your path too. That's always important. So Spirit, anything else you want to say to pile 1 today on their hidden reward with this risk that seems to be clearing? Thank you. So the first card today is The Five of Wands. We have literally someone moving through a forest. However, it looks like it was kind of burnt, so no wonder why it kind of feels like an unhealthy ecosystem or like a toxic system. Of course, actually, in reality, wildfires can be healthy for ecosystems, especially clearing out brush. It's very crucial to the life cycle of some kinds of trees, and that sometimes they require that heat in order for their seeds to grow, right? But at the same time, it does look like a pretty stark landscape. And this is your inciting incident card. This is the very first card today. Okay. And so what that means is like, this is the kind of situation that this whole path you're going on towards this reward is stemming from. And a Five of Wands in particular, because it is a Wands card, which is related to fire in tarot, tends to be a situation where we've been butting heads with other people. There's a lot of willpower involved, but with the element of the five, and especially the imagery of like a forest fire, things have gotten kind of out of control. So I almost wonder, and this might apply to all of you in many different ways, but there's like a situation related to this leading up to the path that you're on right now where, I don't know, maybe there's been like toxic competition or just like a really toxic environment in terms of people just trying to overpower each other. It's possible that this might be related to, like, say, in your family or a friend group, or it could also, of course, the most prominent example that comes to my mind is like within your workplace, because I know sometimes, people get competitive, they want to step up the ladder and maybe they step on other people on the way up, something like that. So no wonder why the Trout and the Lily came up, because it's like maybe that toxic situation that makes the quote-unquote river or stream not so clear for you is other people butting heads. Sometimes, too, it can mean a fear of competition as well. Although, for you, I feel more intuitively this is along the lines of, like, other people involved in terms of, like, actually they've been butting heads and kind of fighting over stuff. So, let's keep going. Second card, we have the Two of Vessels, or Cups as it's known in most decks. Makes a lot of sense because this is the card of relationships and our unity and our harmony within them. Now, it is upright, which tends to technically bode well. I would see this probably, since this is your near past card, that perhaps the situation already got better from there, but you're still kind of weaving your way away from that toxic situation or that bad whatever was going on, right? However, it might mean, of course, that there's still progress to be made, as there always is on every path in life. And maybe that is where you're kind of fearing where there's risk is. And, it's interesting, too, because we literally have people, I guess you can't really tell if it's a lake or a river, but it kind of looks like a river, right? Especially because the current seems to kind of go in one way. So it's like them literally crossing a river and finally getting over that, just like we should see with this reward, right? That bridge finally repairing over that river or water body. But let's keep going. Central card is, we have someone fording water again. Specifically, we have the High Priestess with Glacier Bay National Park. Very beautiful. Love that depiction of the High Priestess. And the High Priestess, my friends, often represents, well, us in terms of our connection to our own intuition. Also sometimes mysteries, sometimes the unknown. But I think in this particular situation, especially because she's navigating a water body, especially with like ice all around her, right? This is about her trusting her intuition to guide her way. I think recently with this risk, the reason why you haven't immediately said no to this risk or this opportunity is because there's something deep down in the present moment. Hence, this is like the present moment position with the third card. I forgot to mention that earlier. Excuse me. In the present moment, I think your intuition has been kind of telling you, well, maybe I should follow that path. Maybe I should go towards this new opportunity coming my way, especially if you're trying to get away from the toxic competition of the Five of Wands, right? Where you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if that's really for me anymore. Maybe I want a place with greater harmony and unity and people getting along and actually working together. And so you're sitting in your stillness and you're kind of sitting there thinking to yourself, my intuition tells me maybe I should go a certain way. But I think that's where the dilemma really comes from, pile one, is because you're sitting there thinking, well, do I really want to go with this? Is this really a good risk to take? It's that hesitance just because we don't always know the way. Of course, our path kind of gets misty and foggy. We don't always know. But I can tell you, usually our intuition does drive us right. So let's keep going. We'll see the near future and the outcome card, which sometimes I can also see as advice. We'll just see what comes out intuitively too. But fourth card today is Death Reverse. Now, interesting, we go from a place of a lot of water, well, fire, and then a lot of water, and now we have a desert. We have Death Valley National Park, which does have verdance to it. It does have greenery, usually after, I think, correct me if I'm wrong if anyone lives near there and knows better than me. I live in a not deserty place, so a little bit out of my wheelhouse. But if I'm right, after the rains come, then it has what's called a super bloom. And that's why this is depicted in that particular card. So it's kind of like this really dry place that you've been in. You've been trying to find this water, metaphorically speaking, this greater life, a place of greater harmony, and of course connection too with other people around you that maybe you work along with better, because that's what water does represent in tarot, is our connections and harmony with other people. But I think this is actually going to be an advice card for you, pile 1, and then the outcome will kind of tell us more about the reward, I think, or like I said, I might pull some more cards to see. Because sometimes the outcome is an advice card too. Ooh, we have the King of Sticks or Wands. And it's interesting because we have fire at the very beginning with the 5 of Wands here, and now we have fire at the very end with the King of Wands. And it's interesting because although it is a fire card, he's technically, once again, in a very watery area. And look what he's doing, pile 1. He's crossing the river. He's crossing, well, kind of, I guess it's more like a swamp or a bayou, perhaps, or a marsh. But in either case, he's crossing it, and I always point this out when this card comes up. If you can see this on the camera, I apologize if you can't. There is like a little baby crocodile down here and a snake, yet the King of Wands is not afraid of them. He knows how to navigate. He knows how to go forward. So, oh, and two, the other thing I just noticed is like the light breaking through. What might have been kind of a dark, scary swamp earlier, it seemed kind of misty, you weren't so sure like where it was going. Now the light breaks through and we can see. But he is taking risks, because who knows if that little alligator or crocodile might chomp on his leg, or the snake might bite him or whatever, but he's confident and he goes forward anyway. So I will tell you this, pile 1. This reward is waiting for you after you take a step in your confidence. I think that's the change that you're being advised on to take with Death reversed as the near future / your advice position card, because there's something you're doing right now that Spirit is saying you should change. That's why Death reversed typically comes out. And usually next to the King of Wands and the High Priestess, that means number 1, follow your intuition, don't deny it. And number 2, be confident. That is the main keyword with the King of Wands. He is someone who's very confident. He's very charismatic. He's not afraid to strike it out on his own. And actually sometimes too, the King of Wands I do associate with travel. Okay, so maybe part of this risk is you're like, I don't know, should I travel somewhere? Or maybe it's another job that you've been looking at. Say if you were in a toxic workplace and you're like, I don't know if I should move forward to this new place because, it's kind of a move. It's a little bit out of my, comfort zone. In which case that would be advice for you to move to that place with confidence. Okay, to be confident and assured in that particular decision and that path. And inherently, that's the reward here, pile 1, is it will bring you to a place that allows you to be more confident, where, yes, there'll be risks, as there always are in everything in life. Okay, that's just how life goes. There's always going to be one little risk on the path. However, that environment, out of the toxic environment we were here with the wildfire before, is going to be so much better for your confidence. I think your self-esteem will boost in this new place if you take that risk, should you choose to do so. I think you also may have opportunities to stand out as a leader. That's another representation of, or I should say keyword of, the King of Wands. On top of that, pile 1. It's also a really great card of creativity because he is a fire card. And so if you're finding that you've had like creative blocks lately too, it's very possible that part of it is just the toxic environment you're in, and Spirit / your own creative spirit too, not just Spirit as a whole, is kind of encouraging you to go in that direction because it will help unblock that creative problem. Okay. Now, there wasn't so much about the reward itself, although, like I said here with the stork, it talks about news of a birth or a new business opportunity. It could be the reward is a better job for a lot of you. It could be, if you take this advice and everything I've said and extrapolate it to, say, if you've started like your own business already, but you're still kind of in the trenches, I should say, of getting it off the ground, it's very possible, pile 1, that the boost in confidence that way, or the boost in leadership that way, will be you finally knowing how to like overcome, or having the opportunity to overcome what seemed like risks or dangers before, because you've already gained the wisdom to navigate what seems like, as I said, a scary crocodile or like a scary snake, so to speak. But let's pull a few more cards on the reward itself. Spirit, can you tell me anything else about the reward after this path of trusting their intuition should they choose to do so? We have the moon with Creators of the Moon National Monument and Preserve. Beautiful. And that's interesting because the moon is often about illusions, specifically about what is actually a risk or a danger and what is not. Just like there's on one side, it almost looks like, I would say that's a fox, but I believe it's technically supposed to be like a coyote, or in a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, it would be a dog versus a wolf. And then there's a wolf, of course, on the side. Things not being what they seem. Okay, and then we have the Three of Cups reversed. So when we're asking in a blessing reading, when I'm asking what the reward is, typically what would be a negative card, which Three of Cups reversed would be a negative card typically, like I said, that is what I'm seeing as the reward of what's changing. So this is very fitting, pile one, because we talked about a toxic situation here, and now we have the card of literally like toxic social groups, especially reversed. But as I said in a blessing reading about this reward coming for you, that's what's going to change. So better social situation, better people around you. Okay, that is also a major part of the reward. I think the moon is probably about the risks not being as bad as they seem. There's something kind of deceptive or illusionary not being what it seems in terms of what looks like the risk to you. It almost makes me think of the term like a paper tiger. Like it looks like a tiger, this risk. However, it might actually just be a paper tiger in hiding. Okay. And then let's look at the last card for you today, pile one. We have the King of Swords reversed. So once again, would typically be negative, but this is kind of a blessing part of the reading. So a King of Swords reversed in that situation could mean, number one, sometimes the court cards are literally people. It may be that you currently have a King of Swords reversed type of person in your environment right now. Maybe that's what's been causing the toxicity, and a King of Swords reversed person would be either masculine energy, tends to be maybe an air sun sign, so, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini. Or it could possibly mean, if it's not a person, that overall this place that you've been in that's been like lacking logic, it's been lacking strategy, it's been lacking like solid plans and solid footing on what kind of seems like is slippery. Maybe that whole, especially for those of you, this is a workplace, it's very possible that like even the trajectory of this workplace seems slippery. Like people don't really know what they're doing, or it kind of seems like they don't have like a logical plan for the future. Or, even if it's like your own business you've been starting and maybe you've kind of felt that slipperiness, so to speak, that's part of what will also improve if you take this risk. Okay, so I know it looks scary, pile one. I know it looks like a major risk, but as I said, it kind of seems like a paper tiger situation, especially with the meaning of the moon having popped out. It's a place, this reward, that will bring you greater people, greater business partners, greater coworkers perhaps, or, say if it's a friend group situation, better people to connect with even just on a platonic level as a friend. Whatever the move is, whatever the thing that you're afraid to cross or change is precisely what will bring you the panacea to the problems that you've been having with whatever has been toxic before. Okay, so that's your reward, just to summarize, pile one on your path ahead. Is a lot healthier place. And it's interesting. One last thing I did notice here. I think they're technically in a hot spring in the Three of Cups. Let me look at that upright. Yes, it does look like a hot spring because you kind of see the steam rising up from the waters, which, once again, speaking of healing, hot springs are associated with healing traditionally. So even the environment and the water will be a lot clearer and cleaner, metaphorically speaking, or maybe literally if you're doing like a literal move. Maybe the environment there is a lot more natural and healthy, but you can also take that metaphorically, of course. So that was your reading today, my wonderful pile one on the hidden reward waiting for you ahead on your path. And if you liked it, if it resonated, please, like the video. Please comment down below how it resonated or just your general thoughts. I'd love to hear all of that. And please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much if you choose to do any one of those three things, if not more. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night. And I will see you next time in the woods. Bye, pile one. Hello there, pile number two. Welcome to your hidden reward reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the Owl and Hop as your pile leader for today. Now, to begin your reading, let us start with drawing your oracle cards. And we will call on Spirit for your highest, best good. Spirit, can you tell us more about this hidden reward waiting for pile 2 in the near future on their path? Thank you. Okay, well that one obviously came out quite quick. So we'll take that as your first tea leaf. There you go. We actually have 3 extra cards for you today, pile 2. Lovely. So let's unveil those. First up, well, let's do with the ones we already kind of saw. We have the hammock with taking a vacation, either physically or mentally. Number 2, we have shark, take care or there will be a loss of material wealth. Number 3, also a good sign, like the hammock, we have carrot with opportunity or windfall. And last but not least, after we make some room for all these lovely cards, we have, oh beautiful, dolphin, financial gain usually coming from something you did in the past. So pile 2, as you can tell, we already have some synchronicities, I like to call them, in terms of things are repeated amongst your cards. Of course, we have carrot and dolphin being somewhat similar in that it talks about an opportunity or a windfall, plus with the dolphin, a financial gain of some sort with something you did in the past. Now, there is kind of a little bit of a... I almost want to say this is kind of the energy leading up to this reward is how I would describe it with shark, in that, as it says, take care or there will be a loss of material wealth. And actually, now that I'm really thinking about it and tapping in intuitively, pile 2, I don't know if that actually occurred in the past. I feel more that's what you're fearing is going to occur. I wonder if recently you've been really afraid of some loss of material wealth. Maybe there has been some feeling of this metaphorical shark circling the water, like, to keep using that metaphor, it's like you're treading this water and you're looking around and then you see that fin and like the Jaws theme starts playing in your head and you're like, oh my god, what is going on here? Of course, the fin meaning whatever this material thing or loss that you're afraid of is. But I think based on these cards so far, it might not be that that actually comes to pass. Of course, we'll see with your other cards more about the details. Then we do have, as I said, with hammock, taking a vacation physically or mentally. I almost wonder if recently, like, you plan a vacation and you're afraid of, like, something happening with that vacation, for one example, or it could be in terms of the mental interpretation of that card, that once you realize that that shark fin was just styrofoam and plastic, it wasn't the actual Jaws coming for you with material problems, you'll be able to take that mental vacation, or perhaps with, you know, some money maybe seemingly coming in, maybe that's where you'll be able to take a physical vacation. So let's keep going. We'll draw your last oracle card, and then of course I will explain more about your owl and your hop, although just culturally we all know owls do represent wisdom, just like the keyword says on that card. And the hop is, as a lot of vines represent, it's kind of a nature or energy of persistence, growing very tall. So I think you've been on a long climb here towards this financial success, whatever it might specifically mean. Well, obviously this one is most prominent. Healing chaos, which is beautiful. We have the butterflies around the tornado, but quite prominently is kind of a green tornado, which green I always associate with healing. Beautiful. Therefore, healing from chaos. Yes, and maybe you fear this Jaws, this shark fin, so to speak, pile 2, because you've had a lot of financial chaos recently, and so it kind of feels like that snowball of, oh god, here comes another financial hit, or here comes another financial problem, which sometimes, that does happen in life, where we feel like everything just kind of piles up, or sometimes, what's the old phrase to use? When it rains, it pours. Like, sometimes it just kind of feels like a lot of bad things happen at once, and sometimes it's like a lot of good things happen at once. But I think specifically for your situation, it's been a lot of like maybe negative financial things, or maybe job related too, and that's why you kind of fear this Jaws, this shark. But I can already tell you, I think that's exactly what the reward is you're healing from that, and actually you might find a gain rather than a loss of some sort. And 2, healing chaos can naturally mean once we have those external things accounted for, when we finally are able to bypass what seems like the chaos of perhaps financial or job difficulties, then we can heal within. We can heal our heart a little bit in terms of not having to worry so much. Well, plus our mind, of course. The mind is where anxiety mostly lays. Taming that mental chatter, that worry, it just keeps bogging you down about whatever is going on. And another thing that I just noticed too is that the shark and the dolphin are very similar, right? In that, well, of course, they're both aquatic animals, fish. But on top of that, they both have a fin. And that's really what pops out to me is, as I said before with the metaphor of the shark fin, you being afraid that the shark is going to pop up, here comes Jaws, but actually it turns out to be that dolphin instead. And you're like, oh, same fin, different animal. So I would not be shocked if, say, the moon comes out with your tarot cards today. I think there's just something very deceptive about what's going on in that. You kind of remind me of one of the other piles today. I wonder if there's kind of a communal theme here of illusions and things not being what they seem with a lot of our collective energy in our community, but let's keep going. And then I will, of course, describe your owl and hop while I shuffle your tarot cards to continue the reading. So the owl, as I said, is associated with wisdom very prominently, pretty much across a lot of different cultures, although also sometimes they're seen as creatures that can pierce through the dark, and that's why they're also associated with wisdom, and of course their association with Athena in Greek mythology, as she was a goddess of wisdom and she was associated with owls. And so I'm thinking, pile 2, that coming out for your reading, intuitively it makes me feel like this windfall or opportunity, this financial gain, job-related thing, is at the end of like this very long journey, maybe specifically that chaos we were talking about before. And I think you'll finally be able to relish in that achievement, because that's where the meaning of the hops comes forward in terms of, as I said, it's like a vine. So therefore it represents that slow twining growth. Now, it might not have been a very straight path that made a lot of sense at the time. Maybe it seemed like you were going in a bunch of different zigzag directions as you were growing up, in terms of this journey you've been on, or growing forward, I should say, instead of growing up. Maybe that's kind of weird, but anyways, you know what I meant, pile 2. And so when the hop finally grows at its peak, and when you finally grow at your peak with this situation, it's like, oh, okay, I finally found this achievement. I'm at the end of this long journey. I'm at the end of the night. I can finally see through what seemed like darkness before. And also achievement and wisdom gained. I think, although, my sympathies for the path that you've been on with this pile too, because that's never fun to go through with being afraid of, the shark fin of, financial problems. But at the same time, I think you're going to look at the situation in retrospect in terms of, like, there's something that you learned along this struggling path that's going to help you a lot in the future. So that inherently too. Now, like I said, I do see that reward with the financial or job, etc. opportunity. However, I think the other side of that reward is the wisdom that you gain from whatever has been going on so far. And that inherently will lead to a greater reward later, because that will help you with success after this part of your journey is finished. So anyways, let's keep going with your tarot cards. We'll pull the first one. We have the Hierophant reversed with Redwood National State Park. The Hierophant reversed is breaking a tradition. I almost wonder if you tended to be relatively financially stable up until the start of this kind of dark part of your journey. But then out of the blue, something happened and it broke a tradition, is what I'm trying to say, because that's typically what the Hierophant reversed represents, my friends, in terms of, like, upright. The Hierophant is like, oh, doop-de-doo, things as usual, and then if it's reversed, it's like, ooh, here comes a break or a division in what had been a long-standing tradition, too. It can also sometimes represent when authority has failed us in some way, so it could be, too, maybe if it was a loss of a job, it was, say, an authority at that job that led to that being let go or being fired. And, obviously that happens most of the time when we lose a job, but specifically that nature of the Hierophant reversed is like someone who wielded too much power, like they were kind of power hungry, they were maybe not the nicest person to be around, maybe is a better way to put it too, or more specific. Either way, it's like, yeah, whatever you're going through right now, it's not been, I don't think, a constant in your life, and that's why it came across as so shocking to you. You're like, oh my god, like I thought I had it handled, I thought I was fine, and then all of a sudden this Uno reverse card from the universe popped out, and you've just had to deal with that stress ever since. However, there's also a silver lining to this card pile too, in that it makes me think intuitively that yes, right now it seems as if like the tradition has been broken. However, tradition inherently means that something that we do go back to eventually, which kind of once again really re-emphasizes what I'm seeing with these good things coming your way financially. So let's keep going. Lots of meaning in the Hierophant reversed. We have the Five of Pentacles reversed. Okay, typically upright, that is a card of struggles, especially with finances, because it is the Five of Pentacles. It's the Earth suit in tarot. However, reversed, my friends, it usually means recovering from a hardship. Now, this is technically in the recent past position, and so I almost wonder if you've already been kind of on the mend, some of you, from whatever happened that caused this problem with finances and success. That, or at least Spirit is kind of commending you here for your ability to deal with that hardship, because that's kind of a specific meaning with this card. And I love the way the artist of this deck depicted it, because yes, there's hardship in terms of they went camping and oh crap, it rained on their parade, or rained on their camping, maybe to be more specific. However, they're finding ways to deal with it. He put up a tarp while he's drinking his coffee. The kid in the back is sitting in the tent, perfectly dry. And the girl in the front almost is kind of making lemonade out of the lemons that life gave her, in terms of she took the rein and said, oh, that was an opportunity for me to play. So I think you've been handling it pretty well considering the situation, pile two. But this is a really good card too, in terms of it boding well for recovery in some way. So I think there's already been, even if you haven't seen it, some machinations of the universe behind everything working towards you recovering from this. Okay, so let's keep going. Then we have the Nine of Pentacles, beautiful, in the present position, the heart of the matter, with, those chanterelle mushrooms, or are they jack-o'-lantern mushrooms? I can't remember the exact variety. I guess it doesn't matter. I got distracted. I was like, ooh, mushroom's pretty. But the Nine of Pentacles, my friends, represents after a period of very hard work, as the Eight of Pentacles would indicate right beforehand. The Nine of Pentacles is, now I can finally achieve my reward. So whatever struggles you've been having with your job or finances recently, the heart of the matter and in the present position is this card of, okay, I put the work in, or as I always say, I put the quarter into the machine and now I'm getting my candy or my gumball out. That's the phrase I like to use a lot if you're familiar with my videos with the Nine of Pentacles, because it's, you know, the card of basically the fruits of your labor pile too. So you're getting there. You will find that recovery. Okay. Took a little bit of things falling down, just like in the woods. Oftentimes mushrooms grow on dead trees, right? The trees fall, the trees rot a little bit, and then the mushrooms and the lichen, fungi, etc. grow on top of them. So yes, it came from the death of something. However, sometimes the death of something or the falling of something leads to the gold and the growth of something new and better. Especially in terms of things you've worked hard for, as the Nine of Pentacles indicates. So we'll keep going. Near future / your advice card. And look at that just popped out. What did I tell you, pile two? I said I would not be shocked if the moon comes out, something not being what it seems. Remember the shark and the dolphin? That fin is really deceiving, pile two. Now we have literally the card of, yep, things were not what they seemed, and especially in the near future position, that often represents the illusion dropping, or reversed too, I should mean, or say specifically. When it's reversed, the illusion drops, things are finally clear. So I know right now your path seems really foggy, it seems hazy, it seems even kind of scary. I mean, to keep going with the forest path metaphor, it's very possible that right now it's like you walking down this forest path at night, things are kind of ooky and spooky, you're hearing things creepy in the woods, but then all of a sudden the dawn comes and you realize what looked creepy was really just a tree. Or it was just like maybe a raccoon instead of the creepy monster you were thinking of. Or just to keep going with the metaphor of the shark and the dolphin, what looked like a shark was actually a happy dolphin. So whatever you're really afraid of right now with this situation, Spirit is very heavily reinforcing to you it's not what it seems. Things are going to turn out better than you're expecting. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, and then we'll look at the outcome / final advice card. And we have, the Chariot. Wonderful. Very cute. We have dog sledding. Well, dogs. How adorable. And the Chariot is a very good outcome here, pile 2, because the Chariot represents making forward progress. Number 1. So the setback, I know it seems like things have kind of slowed down. Obviously, things tend to do that when we have financial or job setbacks. But the way clears, you'll be able to snap the reins, and there you go, off speeding towards your goals and your destination again after this period of slowness. Also, very fittingly and in synchronicity with your Healing Chaos card, the Chariot often means reining in chaos, things making logical sense again in terms of getting all of our ducks in a row, to use the common phrase, to push forward with momentum again, getting things balanced as well, which bodes well, of course, once again for finances, because we associate, finances with our balance, like our bank balance, literally, right? But yes, beautiful. And actually, you do have a lot of major arcana cards, pile 2. And if you haven't watched my videos before, I just like to explain what that means to me as a tarot reader. So when there's a lot of major arcana, so the Hierophant, Moon, Chariot in a reading, I tend to see that as a representation of this being a major milestone in your life. So oftentimes that does mean, say, a new job. Okay, because that is obviously a major milestone, is moving from one job to the next. It could also mean, if you're not necessarily resonating this situation with in terms of like a job, but just financial or just like abundance in general from wherever that you're looking for, it's like a major milestone in some way. And looking at even at the elemental associations, I mean, you have a lot of earth because of, I personally always associate the Hierophant with earth myself. And then especially the 5 of Pentacles and the 9 of Pentacles. So just abundance and healing in general from the chaos of your material world around you. Things not being what they seemed, as we said. And that's another thing I wanted to mention too. Remember what I said about the owl, how it's able to pierce through with night vision in the night? It's able to see things very clearly because it is a nocturnal animal, right? It's like being able to finally see through with wisdom, that clarity. And also, too, remember the wisdom was also part of the reward. Yes, it's been difficult. And of course, well, I sympathize with that. Spirit does too. But at the same time, the recovery isn't the only reward here. The other reward is the wisdom to know how to pick up and move on even faster in the future when similar situations may occur. That's what always happens when we go through setbacks, right? We always find wisdom that helps us along the way afterwards. Makes the next time anything happens a lot smoother to deal with. So my condolences if you did blah, blah, blah. My condolences if you did lose a job, pile 2. Never fun, or if you have been financially struggling. But based on this reading, I can tell you it looks very, very good in the future in terms of achievement, just like the Hops talks about, in terms of you gaining wisdom from all this and it being in your rearview mirror instead of it being your present. Things that seem like scary jaws sharks actually becoming, well, happy dolphins, really. There's good things coming out of what seems like an impossible situation, and reward for your efforts. And remember to pat yourself on the back for the way that you've been handling it, because remember that 5 of Pentacles reversed, pile 2. That Spirit commending you for the way that you've been dealing with the hardship. I think you have been making lemonade out of the lemons that life has been handing you, and that is not easy. A lot of people, when setbacks occur, of course I say this sympathetically, but a lot of people, when setbacks occur, they kind of fall down and they struggle. I think you have a hardiness to you, pile 2. I think you have a resilience, is maybe even a better word to use to describe you. And just remember to pat yourself on the back for that. It hasn't been easy, but remember, things will heal, the chaos will get reined in, and perhaps you'll literally take a vacation. Or maybe it could also be a hint to, for some of you that, this is like a job loss situation, Spirit wants you to look at the time between the jobs as a time for you to rediscover yourself, or a time that you were able to take, a vacation of sorts. I know it's kind of scary when we lose a job, right? We don't really see it as a vacation, but sometimes things happen because not only is it better for us to have that time off, but sometimes we are driven from certain places because there's something better for us waiting out there. It might also mean that if it is a job for you, that place will be a lot better on your mental stress. It'll seem like a vacation, perhaps, compared to the old job. All right. Beautiful. So that was your reading about the hidden reward on the path ahead for you. I hope that you liked the reading. I hope that it resonated. Of course, number one, I hope that it helped you. That's what I care about most with our readings, as I always say. And if so, please like the video. Please comment down below how it resonated with you, or just your thoughts in general. I love hearing all of it, all of your feedback. And please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Every little bit does help the channel a lot, so I thank you if you choose to do any one of those 3 things, if not more. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or night, and I will see you next time in the woods. Bye, Pile 2. Hi there, Pile number 3. Welcome to your hidden reward reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the very cute Bee and Pomegranate for your pile leader with the keyword of productivity. So let's begin with drawing your oracle cards, calling on Spirit for the highest best good of Pile 3 today. Can you tell us a little bit more about this hidden reward they're not expecting on their path ahead? Thank you. And of course, this one is very prominent, so I will take that one for you. As for your second tea leaf, and there we go. So let's unveil those. Your first tea leaf today is Tent, with a temporary situation. Interesting. Not quite sure where that will go, but let's see. Second tea leaf today is, we have the Gong with an exciting event. So I almost wonder, Pile 3, if some of you, it might be you've had a very temporary living situation recently. Sometimes that can be what the tent means on a very literal level. Maybe you had to move really quick. You had to stay with a friend or with family, kind of being, intermittent between your main living places. Maybe, it can happen for so many different reasons, whatever the reason might be. It's very possible that this hidden reward is related to that situation, if that part of this reading is resonating with you. Or in general, it could also mean, too, that a lot of you have been hoping that a certain situation will be temporary, in which case I would almost read that more as the thing that you want to be temporary. Maybe something that's been frustrating you, has been kind of irritating, or could also mean something that you're hoping will come to an end very shortly, like maybe a little bit of a setback that you've had to deal with. Then I would read this hidden reward as that thing being temporary, not as permanent as you thought it would be. Therefore, probably putting a smile on your face, especially if you wanted that thing to go away, right? And then, too, the Gong, of course, is about announcing something. It's about an exciting event. So I think that's more along the lines of what will be surprising. I'm not getting a specific message quite yet on what the exciting part is, other than, of course, maybe a problem coming to an end. That's exciting, right? But let's keep going. We'll look at your oracle card from the Sacred Destiny, too, to gain more insight. And then, of course, we do have your Bee and Pomegranate to talk about, too. Anything else you want to say to Pile 3 about this reward? Well, that was very fast. That one came out right away, and we have Embracing. And you know what really catches my eye with this card is the fact that it's on the cusp of something. It's a very liminal space being between, because not only do you have the river / could be a lake, I guess, on one side, but you have the earth or the soil / shore on the other side, just as like marshes or shorelines tend to represent. And once again, they're not very permanent things. We often think of marshes, shorelines as lines and boundaries that do wear down and do change, albeit sometimes slowly, of course. It tends to be over time as the water wears away from the soil and the rocks, but it still, despite that, does wear down eventually. It does change. It's something that's always shifting. And leading into the keyword of this card, of course, being embracing. It's also about two worlds meeting, or something finally meeting that you wanted to meet in a hidden reward reading, right? So keep those ideas in mind. I think the exciting event might literally be, as I said, it's like this thing becomes temporary, or literally you realize, oh, that was just a temporary thing. I didn't have to worry about it for too long. It's like the span of it is slower, or I'm sorry, not slower, faster than you expected. It ends faster than you expected in a positive way. And that's another thing too, especially for those of you that are in transitions right now, housing or not. This card can also mean that we are just on the cusp of a new world, or the place that we're trying to get to. Hence, just like this, not sure if it's a heron or a crane. I think it's more of a crane correct me in the comments if you know what kind of bird that is. I think it's a crane. Some sort of, or some sort of marsh bird, right? But yes, temporary, almost right at the cusp of something. Beautiful. And as I promised, we would also talk about your bee and pomegranate. So the bee, very commonly, most of you can probably already guess, does represent being hard at work. As the old phrase says, being busy as a bee, and hence that's why its keyword is productivity. Same thing too with the pomegranate. Pomegranate is a representation of productivity, because the guidebook for this deck specifically explains it as a fruit that is very hard to crack the outer skin of it. Now, I've never actually eaten a raw pomegranate before. I've had pomegranate flavored things, so feel free to write down in the comments down below if you have eaten an actual raw pomegranate, can confirm. But the guidebook does say that pomegranates are hard to break through, but when they break through, you have all of that inner flesh and all those delicious seeds to eat. So it's like, yes, maybe getting there was a bit of a struggle, opening that skin, getting into the inside, but at the same time, there's so much abundance after that. Or same thing with the bee, too. Working hard, little bit at a time, breaking through, and eventually there comes the abundance, there comes the honey and the sweet flow of things, okay? So I do share condolences with you, Pile 3, for whatever it is you've been going through with this situation that hasn't been very fun. But I think Spirit's main message today so far, especially with the cards that you already have, is that this is soon to come to an end. So really, just to summarize, your reward is the ending of a situation that you want to end. Okay, but of course we will see more details with your tarot cards. So let's grab those right now. So cracking through to a new reward, something you've been working very hard on. Let's keep going. Okay. That card almost popped out, so I was just about to take it, but it didn't quite pop out. First card for you today is the Ace of Wands reversed in the inciting incident position. Now, that can mean, Pile 3, that the situation leading up to what has been going on, whatever has been frustrating you with whatever this is, has been a sort of a lack of spark, or the lack of ability to start something, especially in terms of your ambitions, because that's one area of life the wand suit represents. It can also represent things with creative projects. Okay, so having a hard time sparking something, having a hard time getting that fire going. It's kind of like you're sitting at a metaphorical campfire with whatever the situation is, and you're striking the flint, and it felt like nothing would catch, okay? So say if it is like a moving situation, you had to leave your house, apartment, etc., in which case that would mean that, like, you've had a hard time sparking, like, a new direction to go in terms of where to go next with your next permanent place of residence, right? So that can mean perhaps, you know, maybe you kept applying places and, like, last minute they're like, oh, we already found another renter, or we already found another person that was going to buy this and had a greater down payment. Or very possible if it's related to, like, a project or business thing for you, it's like you've just had a hard time getting it off the ground. It's like you can't kickstart it for whatever reason, or you haven't been able to thus far. So that's kind of that frustrating energy I was talking about earlier with the Ace of Wands, especially coming out reversed. But let's keep going. We have in the second position the Knight of Pentacles reversed, which also makes a lot of sense, okay? I apologize. It's going to be a tad repetitive, but it's good to see that synchronicity and that confirmation from Spirit. So the Knight of Pentacles reversed can mean that even after this hard time sparking that fire going, we had problems with progress too, especially in the realm of finance, materials, money, and jobs. And sometimes I read the Pentacle suit as being related to housing too, because it's about the stability around us. And the Knight of Pentacles reversed is that perfect card for something feeling like a total slog, because Knights in Tarot represent us taking action, going forward, or receiving messages or news on something. So reversed, it's like we're just not getting feedback or progress with this. It can also sometimes mean, as a side message, that not just that progress has been slow with whatever this is, but it can also mean that something feels a bit rushed too. Maybe you felt kind of rushed in a certain direction. That makes total sense if perhaps you was like a housing situation you had to fix really quick, right? It could also mean to say, like, you have your own business as another example, that something came up and you just had to really kind of rush through the solution to fix it really quick, but it didn't necessarily feel like it was helping you get anywhere. It's that kind of energy around the situation, whatever your particular situation is, of course. But let's keep going. No wonder why you're frustrated. It's a lot of frustrating cards, pile 3. And then we have the Seven of Cups reversed. Now, I do want to flip it upright because I do want to show you kind of what it means through the imagery. So we have many different options here. That's really the main keyword with the Seven of Cups, or different dreams. We have someone who's playing Frisbee. We have someone who, are they surfing? Looks like they're surfing in the background there. Someone walking a dog, someone building a castle, and up here, of course, we have a paraglider. So it represents a situation where there seems to have been many options. However, reversed, my friends, it tends to represent, we don't feel like we have a lot of options, or whatever came up kind of slowed down our ability to follow different dreams. And so we've just been solely focused on getting this one thing fixed in order to make progress on everything else. It's kind of that bottleneck is probably a good keyword to use. It's like you've had this bottleneck. It can also mean too that in terms of the blessing coming, in terms of the reward, that you are finally in the present position, so present time right now as you're watching this, walking into a situation where that confusion clears and you're able to pursue after those dreams again, or after those different options again. So if it's, say, a moving house situation, it's very possible that whereas before it felt like a famine of choices, it's going to then be a feast of choices for where you want to live. Like finally the market maybe opens up a bit wherever you live and you're like, oh my God, there's so many choices. And you might actually have the issue of deciding where you want to go rather than, you know, just finding the one that will accept you, right? Or that has availability. Or if it's not housing related, once again, it can mean progress with the business that you have, or progress at your job that maybe felt bottlenecked before. Wherever it felt kind of constrained and frustrating before, it's like finally this opens up. We have things flowing again because, I mean, traditionally when the Seven of Cups is upright, it's like being, oh, I don't know what to choose. I'm kind of dreaming between many different things. Reversed, it's like, okay, now we can get past the bottleneck and siphon down to one focus. Okay, but yes, once again, it can mean, especially for those of you with the housing thing, many options finally opening up and you being able to choose to siphon down to that focus of, okay, now I have this ideal place that I want to go. All right, let's keep going. We're already seeing lots of abundance and blessings from this. So I think it could very possibly be that the exciting event is that bottleneck being removed in some way. We'll see more details, but then we have the Four of Wands. Okay, this is kind of creepy in a good way. Because remember what I was just saying about you starting a campfire, and it's like the flint would not strike. So traditionally I would read this with the meaning of, the way Four of Wands is typically either a celebration or stability or comfort in some way, which I will read it for that too. But the fact that that imagery came out after I already talked about starting a fire with the Ace of Wands, or not being able to, specifically because it's reversed, and then out pops this, it's kind of creepy in a good way. Good chills, right? And so I would read that then intuitively as you're finally able to spark that fire. It's not a very big fire yet, but naturally, once you get that one thing going, it opens up those choices or those opportunities for you to follow your other dreams again in multiples, rather than just having to figure out this one main bottleneck, okay? But also, this is a very good sign for those of you, especially if you've been looking for housing, as I was saying before. I think my intuition might have been right on with that, not just because of the tent, but now with the Four of Wands popping out, that literally is the card of happy home in tarot. The perfect card for that. So near future, a great home for those of you looking for housing. It's going to be fantastic. Or those of you looking to move, it's going to be fantastic when you move there. It's going to be a great place for you, is what I'm seeing. Also, just stability in general. So if things have felt kind of unstable recently, and naturally if you've been having problems starting that fire, metaphorically speaking, that stability is going to feel real nice. You'll have that steady fire going, so to speak, or that steady progress as we were talking about. You'll be able to rest too. I can see that specifically with this interpretation of the Four of Wands. Beautiful. You've been walking through that dark forest, pile 3. It's been tough, but then you're able to finally sit down on the log and just rest. And, I don't know, roast marshmallows and weenies or something, I don't know. Speaking of summer food, that sounds really good right now, doesn't it? All right, let's draw your last card. And then we have the Emperor. So we have 4 repeated again. That is just a double whammy, pile 3, of stability, because that's what 4 represents in numerology. You got the Four of Wands and now the Emperor, which is number 4 in the major arcana. Beautiful. And it's Yosemite National Park, also beautiful. Gorgeous. And so 4, once again, not to repeat too much, but that does tend to mean greater stability, a great home. Also, too, there's something here with the particular meaning of the Emperor, in that it represents authority, and it tends to represent structure in some way. It's also the masculine energy card, so especially if you have a partner that is like moving with you, or family members that are moving with you, that are of masculine energy, right? I think it's also going to be especially a good place for them too, or if you're masculine yourself, right? Same thing. Great place for you. So I see that in a very positive way. Of course, it'd be great for everyone involved, right? Because I can see that with these cards, but specifically because the masculine energy card came out with the Emperor, it's going to be fantastic. Could also mean positive things in terms of your, like a father, because it's also the father card. I don't know if maybe some of you are moving with a father of some sort, or he had some sort of influence in the situation, I'm not sure, but that's also what that can represent. But in general, if not a father, if not masculine energy person in your life, the Emperor is a very, very good blessing in terms of things finally feeling stable and structured and just supported again. That's another really good keyword to use with the Emperor. So beautiful, pile 3. It might be the most synchronicities in all of the piles today, especially with like the tent and all the 4s popping out. And then the fire, that was a symbol that came out again after I talked about it with the Ace of Wands. So that was really cool. And, too, it's interesting that we have I just realized this, the shore pops up a lot again, too. Not only with the 7 of Cups, literally like that liminal space I was telling you about, just like with the Embracing card, but also we have a shore right here. It almost looks like either a lake or a river with the Emperor card. So it's like you're finally past that liminal space and you're on that solid structured ground again. Things will be stable. So just to summarize, pile 3, your hidden reward today is calm. It's peace. It's, not to repeat it ad nauseum, but it's stability after a really seemingly hard time of a lot of hard work, just like, the bee working hard, being busy as a bee. You've probably been running around like, to use kind of the weird phrase, running around like a chicken with your head cut off so far, but Finally, things calm. Now, I do want to do just a little bit extra for you today because I'm very curious as to what the exciting event is about. Of course, I think it is like, for most of you, if it's the housing thing, it's like finding the perfect place, right? Or having a lot of choices, being spoiled for choice. Or in general, just everything feeling a lot calmer and more like you can rest. But I want to know if there's like a specific trigger point, I guess, in terms of the timeline. So, Spirit for pile 3, can you tell me more about the exciting event on their path ahead with this? We have the 5 of Swords reversed. Now, upright, that usually would mean conflict, and this particular card, I love this interpretation because it's literally a very, very cluttered hiking trail. It's like, things have been kind of messy, things have been kind of chaotic, but then reversed, it's like the chaos ends. And 2, specifically with the traditional meaning of the 5 of Swords reversed, that can mean like a verbal conflict comes to an end. So I wonder if maybe fighting has actually been a part of this situation for you too, in which case, pile 3, that means the fighting comes to an end as a part of the exciting event. I don't know, let's keep going. Interesting twist. We have the King of Pentacles. The quintessential, everything is structured and stable and financially successful and comfortable again. He's literally climbed the mountain and he's done. He's at the top. He's like, man, look what I've overcome. Look at what I can now see on the horizon. I'm not just looking at every single step in front of me. I can actually look towards the future. So that's like those choices we were talking about, your dreams, being able to follow those once again. But it's like a climbing of the hill of some sort with financial success. And the Lovers reversed, which typically would mean something negative, but in a reading that we're asking, like what is the blessing or reward coming your way? I do read reversals or typically negative cards a bit differently. And so the Lovers reversed can mean traditionally, conflict of some sort that might represent the conflict we already talked about with the 5 of Swords reversed. Specifically, Lovers reversed can mean conflict with someone you're very close to, so specifically like a lover, right? But it can also mean like a family member, a close friend, whoever else might be involved in this situation. But traditionally, the Lovers reversed can also represent a choice or feeling like we're unable to make a choice, not having a choice. So just to summarize, I know it sounds kind of all weird because it doesn't seem too connected to the exciting event, but pulling it all together into one thoroughfare here, into one thread line. Let me think about that for a moment. It's really odd. It's not an exciting event in that it's a very loud, in-your-face event. It's like something coming to a head and then the dust clears, and then that's what leads to this greater stability. It's one of those situations in life, pile 3, where, it's hard to explain, but hopefully maybe I'm translating it correctly here. Have you ever had a situation in life where it feels like everything has just been a complete tornado of chaos, and then all of a sudden you look around and it's done? And you're like, well, wait a minute. Everyone was arguing before. Everyone was on like different pages. Everything seemed completely like out of sync with everyone involved. And then all of a sudden it's like, for some odd reason, the dust settles. And it's like, oh, here's the peace. Here's the calm. Did everyone take happy pills today? Is everyone just really chill for some reason? That's kind of what I'm feeling here, especially because of the element of the King of Pentacles providing that stability. He's kind of similar to the Emperor that way, is that masculine energy of stability, especially with finances and job-related things and the home, resources, etc. And so, I don't know, so the exciting event is like people just finally getting along, I guess is what I'm seeing. Just to summarize, especially with the 5 of Swords and the Lovers reversed being a blessing reading interpretation for them. And then the choice interpretation of the Lovers too can mean that it's like you finally are given a choice out of the blue, and that choice helps you get to that greater stability, aka say the housing. It's like all of a sudden, boom, someone comes forward and is like, hey, I have this particular place for you that's like perfect, is right in your price range, etc. And actually, pile 3, I forgot to mention, King of Pentacles is a court card too, and that can represent a person in the situation. So it might be highly connected to a masculine energy, being a king, who is an earth sign or is related to your job or your housing or money, or is someone that is generally well off. That can be another interpretation of the King of Pentacles. So yeah, earth energy, like, their sun sign is an earth sign. So, like Taurus, Virgo, etc. For some reason, I'm blanking on the third earth sign. So I'm asking you down in the comments. I always do that. Sometimes I blank on the third astrological sign with each one. I did that with the air signs the other day, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, etc. But anyways. Oh, Capricorn. I should know that because I'm a Capricorn moon. Duh. So Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, right? Being the earth signs. That might be what their sun sign is if this person is involved. So actually the exciting event might be that this person comes forward and helps get you to the thing that you're looking for, the stability, okay? Beautiful. So that was your reading today on the hidden reward on your forest path ahead. Of course, if you liked it, if it resonated, and number one, if it helped you, that's my number one concern with these readings, that you actually walk away feeling helped in some way. Please like the video. Please comment down below. Please subscribe to Lone Pine Tarot if you have not done so already, because every little bit does help the channel, and I love hearing your feedback, how everything resonated, etc. So thank you so much if you choose to do one of those three things or more. And as we always say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night. And I will see you again in the woods someday soon. Bye, Pile 3.